Hello, Final Fantasy fan tubers, and welcome back to another Let's Play with me, BlueAnkylo. And this time, we're actually recording it live, so the live tubers get to have a chance, which we haven't done in a while. I've been doing a little bit of off-camera, or like, non-live recording lately, so we'll see how this gets back in the swing of it for the poor live tubers that haven't got to see us for a couple months, at least. So today, we're playing Final Fantasy Ultra Champion Edition, which if I forget the name of the developer, which is bad of me, I could look it up in a second. It's based on another Romhack called Final Fantasy -1, which was Pink Puff. I remember that one. So this is like a Romhack of another Romhack, which is maybe a combination of other Romhacks. It's just Romhacks all the way down. But I mean, that's a good side. I have played through once. So I have a pretty good idea what I'm getting into, and I've sort of vetted the game to be like it's worth making an episode, worth making a series out of. Basically, I'm pretty happy with how this Romhack turned out. As a general overview of what we're getting into for this Romhack, it's a kind of like a vanilla plus Romhack again. It's not like a complete redesign with a new story, a new overworld, yada yada yada. Some Romhacks go full on complete new world redesign. This is still mostly vanilla with a bunch of changes, a ton of changes. The overall progression is pretty similar. The bosses, like the dungeons and stuff, it's mostly the same story and same style, especially early on. But there'll be some bonus equipment in dungeons like Romhacks like to do, some tweaking. I would say generally the enemies are stronger. Like, just assume everything has at least twice as much HP as you think it should have, and sometimes 3 or 4 times as much HP as it should have. So basically all monsters are tankier. Some of them are actually harder, but they're basically all tankier. But on the other side, your characters are also stronger, so you generally scale stronger with your guys as well. So I'm not sure if overall it's much more difficult than the base game. I think it's intended to be a little bit more difficult. I would say it's a bit of a toss-up because some things make things way easier. So there's a little bit of like, maybe with a bad party composition, it could be harder. But I think if you kind of get the gist of what spells work where and kind of have some sense, I think you might find this actually easier than the base game for a variety of reasons we'll get into. So hopefully that's a reasonable overview of the Romhack. We're gonna start the biggest feature is there's 12 playable classes. Yes, that's the one. So we'll talk about them all briefly, and then I'll show you my party, and I'll take some names from chat. 12 classes, one doesn't really count, so there's like 11 real classes and one joke class, and there's no promotion, right? So that's how you do it on the old NES. You can't have 12 plus promotions. That's just not going to work. I don't think it needs to be more grindy. The original game was very grindy. I think this one could be less if you're smart. I actually am pretty confident on that. Maybe with a certain, it's just like a solo white mage is super grindy. There would be parties in this game that would be very grindy, but so is the base game. Okay, so let's talk about classes. We'll start with Viking because it's the first one on the list. Viking is always going to be garbage because Final Fantasy V Vikings were terrible. No one can convince me otherwise. Or 3, I guess. Which one was it? Yeah, 3 had Vikings, 5 had not Vikings but Berserkers, which was also bad. So Axe Wielder, never going to bring one, no way. The style of this guy is actually not a heavy fighter. This is not your fighter replacement. This guy wears approximately medium armor, heavy axes, gets a low number of attacks, but high damage per attack. That's his shtick. No magic. Doesn't get to taunt enemies and draw their attacks or anything fun like that. But he does have a very nice dwarfy sprite. Or she does. I don't know. I think they're all supposed to be girls in this one, actually. Next up, Rogue. So this is your thief that's better than a thief. This is definitely not a vanilla-style thief. Rogues get no magic, no ninja magic, nothing like that. Quite a lot more hit rate than a normal thief gets, so they are better at attacking. Apparently they also have like the highest magic defense growth in the game, although I couldn't prove it, but that's what the guide says. Not that magic defense is the best thing in the world because there's magic that will cover you probably. I had a rogue in my test game and he was okay. He was okay. Not. I would say he's not my top pick, but I had to try him out because I generally like to see what they do with thieves when I see them. His gimmick is just, you know, high agility and evade, so he can sort of dodge tank if you're lucky, and you get the standard. If you guys aren't familiar, the character on the top of the party who takes 50% of enemy attacks also gives you a better preemptive strike chance at the beginning of combat and less ambushes when you're, but only if they're in the top row. That's standard mechanic. As long as they've patched the original game. There's a bug in the vanilla FF1, but that's the design. Is the top character is your leader, and their stats contribute to your ambush and preemptive chance run. They're also pretty good at running away. Whatever. They're okay. Monk, Mr. Monk, not Monkey D. Luffy, but I guess he punches a lot, so it's not that different. He actually gets more hit rate than the vanilla black belt. The vanilla black belt gets 2% hit per level. This guy gets, I think, 4%. So he will hit his bonus attacks per turn quicker than a normal black belt. And you think, wow, that must be insane. This must be the strongest class. No. Actually, the scaling of enemy HP gets kind of out of control. And he's stronger. He punches more than a normal monk. But the enemies are so much stronger that it doesn't keep up very well. Maybe at level 50. I didn't bother. I had a monk on my test game. I didn't, take him to level 50, but maybe if you max him out, he's amazing. I have a feeling he's kind of not that great at killing things. He's also pretty frail in terms of, I don't think he's got like the FF1, if you remember, I think it was a bug technically, the black belt in FF1, the vanilla FF1, had the highest magic defense growth of all the character classes. I don't believe this guy has that anymore. So he's no longer the magic resistance king. He's no longer the damage king. He's got, he can't really wear any armor. His absorb growth is pretty bad. But he does get to learn a bunch of support spells. So his gimmick now is like, he can cast, we'll talk more about how magic works once we can see his shop. It's complicated. But he can learn black and white magic, but never a damage or healing a spell. Only buffs and debuffs, basically. They're called indirect in this game. Basically all magic has a split between direct and indirect, and we'll talk about that in a bit, but he gets all the indirect spells. All the way up to like level 8 theoretically, which is weird. Ninja. I'm gonna bring a ninja this time. I don't know exactly how good they will be. Another glass cannon, high evade, low defense, swords. What else did he get? All the attack black magic, like, as far as I know, all the way up to, like, level 8 again. So, no, he's not gonna learn, like, haste, like he normally would, but I believe he will learn, like, nuke and all that kind of stuff eventually. So that sounds fun. Also, I believe they have the intelligence patch included, so damage and possibly hit rate of spells scales based on your character's intelligence, which is a bit of a negative for mixed classes, like a ninja that probably doesn't have the highest intelligence, still not quite doing as much damage as a pure caster would. In case you're wondering, I'm pretty sure that's included on this one. I'm almost 100%. Cleric is basically a white mage / fighter. They've got the heavier armor and weapons, kind of like the white mage had. But I could think about like a D&D cleric. They get a little bit heavier armor and weapons. The thing for clerics are they get the support, the indirect spells, but they only get half of the direct spells, which is healing. So basically they get the cure spells, single target cure, but no multi-target heal, which is a pretty big negative. I brought a cleric on my first run. I was not a huge fan. Losing out on heal is a pretty big problem. They also don't get the harm series of spells, which is... We'll talk about that more once we get to the spells, but losing out on the harm spells is actually a big problem in this game. So I'm giving Cleric a bit of a thumbs down so far. But they do get good armor. They are quite tanky, if you care. Next up, Warlock. I also brought a Warlock. You can almost see my whole party now that I brought on my first one. Warlocks are the same kind of thing. Black mages... Black mages that focus on damage, so they've got all the damaging spells and half of the support black magic. They also get pretty good armor Well, not as good as the cleric, but they get some armor and some weapons. they are a little bit more fighty than a pure black mage by a margin. My warlock was doing 200 or 300 damage per hit at the end of the game, which is definitely more than a black mage could do in vanilla. And basically the sweeper of the group, this guy's really good at just wiping out hordes of enemies. I might bring one, we'll see. They seem pretty good. Sage, this is your... I'm hesitant to say red mage because he has no physical skills at all. And he learns literally all the magic. White and black, indirect and direct, all the way up to level 8. Just slowly. He's got a slower spell progression. So if you play the mod of balance, it's very much like their Sage. Probably very frail, hardly any weapons or armor, but slowly learns all the spells in the game. I might bring one. I'd like to see how they turn out. There's also a Fool. Joke's on me. As far as I know, they're just a joke character. It's kind of like the goof off in Dragon Quest or Dragon Warrior, except that I don't think you can promote them into a Sage or anything fun like that. So this is just if you want to make your game more of a challenge run. If there is a secret, like, you know, maybe there's one weapon they can use that's plus 500 damage per hit or some nonsense. Don't bother spoiling it in the comments, but if there is, I haven't found anything like that. There's a Paladin. I want to bring a Paladin. I haven't used one yet. This is your more accurate fighter representative from the original game. He's going to get some white magic. I believe the direct style of magic, not the indirect. So he actually doesn't get very many buffs, but he should get all of the curing and healing and harm spells, which is pretty good. So I want a Paladin and a Ninja to test them out. That's going to be the white magic fighter and the black magic fighter. And I think that'll be interesting. There is a Ranger who gets the old blue style red mage sprite. As far as I know, they're kind of like the Sage. They technically can learn all the magic in the game, but even slower or fewer spell slots or something like that. And they have some... They're like a jack of all trades. You know, they get some armor, some weapons. I'm not a huge fan of red mages generally. Sorry, Ranger lovers. I think there's a pretty cool sword they get, though, actually. Seeing as I've seen some of the legendary weapons, I know there's probably a sword that's just built for a Ranger. The ROM maker likes Lord of the Rings, so you might recognize some names and Warcraft, if you're familiar. And then I think this is the last one. Wizard is your, what are we gonna call this guy? He's like indirect black magic with less physical stats and only half of the damaging spells, which is kind of rough. And I think they're only single target damaging spells too, which is even more rough. I don't know if I like it too much, because if I want a black mage, I want to be sweeping groups, not just killing one thing at a time. But we'll see. I might be bring one of those. And then priest is your... Oops, that's the last one. That's the last. Boy, there's a lot of classes, isn't there? And priest is your... this is the heal, like all the direct white magic and half of the buffs. So they get the heal, the cure, the harm. They're like your caster style white mage, and they get only half of the invis, protect kind of spells. So that's kind of the overall split. There's a ton of things to try. I don't know what is really good or bad. When I'm giving you my impressions on these, I could be completely wrong. So anyway, I've got like half of my party figured out. I want a Paladin, a Ninja, a Sage, and something else. And I'll figure that out when I get to the bottom slot. So I'm gonna take some names from chat. We'll see who's in there today. Let's see who's been chatty. I think technically David was the first person to say anything in chat after a mod. So we can have Paladin David. There you go. And then we need a Ninja. I suppose I should take one from Twitch, to be fair. Alright. We got a Paladin and Ninja. I'm not bringing a Monk. I don't think I want another Cleric. I think Cleric might be one of the worst, other than Fool. I think Cleric might be one of the weaker ones. I've already done a Warlock. I definitely think I want to try Sage. We'll see how this works. So I think they also get the most intelligence, which should mean they get the most damage from their sweepers. So maybe I go Sage and Wizard? I mean, that's a lot of spellcasters. It might work. Everyone gets magic. Who's my Sage today? Well, Lazarus did ask nicely, and that's fine. Look at that. We get 5 characters here. We can almost fit in your name. We're getting there. We'll just call you Lasers, I guess. That's kind of what it looks like. But hey, it's better than what it normally is. And then the last slot, let me just real check. Don't need any more physical. A Ranger might fit with this group, but sorry, Ranger lovers. I think I'm going with Wizard. So what am I missing? I've got healing and curing on the Paladin, damage on the Ninja, technically everything on the Sage, but the Sage has to do like all the buffs. So we need someone else who can do buffing, basically. Now, to be fair, the Monk would actually fit in this spot pretty well, because the Monk gets all of the buffing spells that the Paladin and the Ninja do not, which is weird. Isn't that weird? And then the Sage can handle whatever we miss. But I'm not bringing a Monk again. I've already done 1 Monk. So no Monks. Clerics do get all the white magic buffs, but the white magic buffs are like, not as good as the black one. And well, it's hit or miss. I think the black magic ones are better because you get temper and haste. White magic tends to be invis. Well, to be fair, you do actually need walls type status protection spells. They're very important. I'm almost leaning towards Ranger, honestly. This is weird. Warlock has a good sprite for sure. The Priest sprite, that's pretty bad, isn't it? So like if I go Priest, then the Sage has to take all the black magic buffs like haste and temper. And that leaves us with 1 person who can do haste and temper. If I go Wizard, it's the other way around. The Wizard can learn haste and temper, and then the Sage has to make sure they've got the white magic, invis, protect stuff. Which is fine, like that's not a big deal. Well, I think maybe tied for first place is Viking Sprite is really good, and Warlock Sprite is really good. Those are my 2 favorite for sure. Although Sage is like, not too far behind. Honestly, the sprites are well done. Come on, make up your mind, Blue. If I go with Ranger, should I go with Ranger? I said I wasn't. We find out how slowly they learn magic. I'm a bit worried that they're gonna be the worst one. Whatever. Who gets to be a Ranger? Wait, who? I didn't check who I've already picked. David, Amora, Lazarus. Okay. All right, let me pick a name. Vikings are pretty buff. Yeah, I mean they are pretty strong. You know what? Just because you're chatting recently, this is not a fair selection process. You can almost make it to Melior. Sorry, awesome guy. You're 5 seconds too late. I took the last chat. One of these days I'll make like a raffle or something and do it more properly, fairly. But all right, let's go with this and let's see what we got. All right, this is not the Corneria your father showed you. Oh, also the music is just overclock remix, random Final Fantasy music basically. I've got a big long overclock remix playlist in the background, so it'll be fairly quiet so as to not offend the content ID copyright match votes. Okay, so we've got these 3 characters. We've got David Paladin. We got Amora the Ninja with a ton of evade. That's more than the Rogue gets even. That's pretty good. Lazarus the Sage and Melior the Ranger. And I'm gonna probably we'll put the Sage in the back. Not that it makes any difference at all, but we're putting the magiest mage at the bottom. And I'm also going to speed things up here a little bit. We're going to be playing on about double speed normally just to save my life, and I might go up to triple speed if I get tired. All right, so we do have, oops, I didn't want to go in the castle. We do have double speed movement though with a dash button, so that's pretty good as well. But I'm an impatient Ankylo, and I've played this game so many times. Okay, so I will talk to people because I think it's fair to give the developer the time to actually read through all the content they worked. This is just, the sages here for now are just going to tell us about the different classes if you didn't read the readme. They will eventually update like they do in the base game and give us some tips on where to go. For now though, they're just going to tell you a little bit about how ninjas work. We've got a ninja, so there you go. Direct black magic, swords, and basically no armor. Rogues we didn't bring, whatever. Warlocks, direct damage, sweepers mostly. And they can technically use medium armor, so that's nice for them. Priests were, haven't used one of these yet. Light armor, healing spell focus, but also holy, like, harm spells. Sage, everything, less mana apparently. We'll see what happens. So we'll check that out. The Fool can do nothing. The Wizard is your light. Technically they can use swords, I guess. That's nice for the Wizard. But they mostly get like single target damage, which I'm not a huge fan of. Cleric, this is the one I used. Shields plus armor and hammers means pretty tanky and decent. But they don't get the heal spell, which sucks. So I don't know, priests and clerics are a bit tough because neither get both of the good spells for white mage. Don't forget to equip your stuff. Yep, newbie mistake. Rangers, they can use everything. Shields, medium armor, and a bunch of magic. That's fun, right? Paladin gets the best. Paladin is the only one that can wear heavy armor, the plate style armor, as well as shields and hammer. So he actually doesn't get like the full weapon sweat like a fighter does. But hammers are good, you'll see. And the only person that can use axes is the Viking, which I don't have, so we'll never get to see if axes are good. But we know they're bad. Axe guys are garbage, it's standard. And yeah, so while we start talking about magic here in a second as we get there, the top spells in shops are direct, which tends to mean damage or healing, and the bottom two are indirect, which tends to mean buffs or debuffs, or cleanses, stuff like that kind of thing. And there's this guard hiding over here behind the old man. Here you go. So this is really nice. I love that the ROM hacker, the ROM designer put this kind of thing in, because when you change spells and you don't tell the player what they do, I mean, it's just a pain. So I know how they work now, but if you're a first-time player, I recommend talking to people in towns just to get that, or read the README, because the README does tell you as well. But let's start with black magic. So technically, Amora should be able to learn these. Now, the big thing is right off the bat. So top two damage, bottom two not damage. So indirect, direct, and that's kind of the split on who can learn what. But the other big difference is fire magic and basically one per level will always be single target damage, and the other will always be multi-target damage. So for now, fire magic will always be single target in this game, which has some very interesting consequences. And this is why when I said not having the harm spell actually kind of sucks, because if you think about undead, they generally have two weaknesses, fire and harm. And a bunch of resistances to like everything else. If you can't just use fire 2 or fire 3 to sweep them, because you can't anymore, you need, if you have a pack of 9 undead, you will want some white magic to deal with it. So if you have no white magic who can cast, no white magic spellcaster and no multi-target fire, undead become a bit of a problem. Although bosses, because when I say single target, it's single target with boosted damage. So fire will do way more damage than normal fire, and bolt will do about as much as lightning, except now multi-target. So this will make the sea and the water shrine, once we get there, random encounters will be much easier because all of our lightning magic is multi-target. However, bosses like the Kraken, we won't have a single target lightning spell to burn them down, whereas bosses like the Lich, we will have a single target fire spell to burn them down. So there's I kind of enjoyed it. It's an interesting development on how magic works, basically, is what I'm saying. Status effects seem to work a lot more than they used to. Sleep puts enemies to sleep pretty regularly, even all the way to the end of the game now. And Bind is basically like Lock, lowers enemy evasion. Not as perfectly as in the randomizer where it's 100% hit rate, but still reasonably accurate. There's a couple times you might want it, but it's not usually that important. Let's get a move on here. We're already 25 minutes in. White magic. So you've got Cure, single target healing, and it is boosted. So this is like 50 HP heal instead of like 20. So it's much stronger than normal. Holy, I haven't had a chance to use yet because my last party didn't have it. But basically harm only damages undead. It's really harm. It doesn't do non-elemental damage to everyone. Invis is now multi-target. Like this is, I think, smaller effect than Invis 2, but still multi-target. And Wake cures sleep and stun, if I remember correctly. Multi-target. There's very few single-target buffs anymore, or anything. I think haste is single target and temper is single target because they're so good. But pretty much everything else, all the defensive buffs are multi-target, hit the whole group, which is, well, pretty awesome, right? Okay, so with that said, I guess we'll buy some weapons because they're cheap. Unfortunately, we don't have anyone who can use the best weapon, supposedly. And I don't believe paladins can actually use swords. So the paladin will have to use a copper hammer. Amora should be able to use a sword. And then I'm just going to test if Melior can use it as well. I'm pretty sure rangers can use swords. Yeah. And then I'm pretty sure sages are only going to be able to use staves. So it should be very... There. At least we get a couple different types of weapons. It would be kind of nice to have a sword, a hammer, and an axe, so you get the whole spread of weapons. But it's fine, right? So you will see, like, the hit rate on the hammers is not amazing. But we'll get there. I think David will do okay. Probably Amora will be our main physical damage dealer, probably. And then we'll have a lot of magic, basically. All right, armor. Copper this is the plate. This is heavy armor. So that's only usable by our, what's his name? By our paladin. And he can also use a shield. And he's the only one that can use a shield. Shields are like only by paladin and cleric, I think. They're pretty rare. And then we've got, I forget which one is which. This is, I'm not sure if Amora can actually equip that. Just give me a second here. We'll look at the stats here. So copper armor is about as good as iron armor. I think it's a little bit worse. And copper, yeah, so copper armor plus copper shield I think is about the same as chainmail, because I think 15 absorb was the standard chain armor. And let's see, so Amora cannot use scale, Melior can, and Lazarus cannot. Okay, so scale armor is the medium. This is kind of like wood armor, approximately. And then cloth must be our light. I mean, it just literally say cloth, so that'll give us, well, it's a little bit better than a basic cloth armor. You know, basic cloth in Final Fantasy 1 was 1 absorb. So it's still a little better. Although I think the way you should think of it is there are no caps or gloves. So one piece of armor is covering all of the normal, you know, glove, hat, everything other than the shield basically is combined into the armor, the main armor. So simplifies it and frees up some slots. With the rest of our magic, we need to, well, there's really only one spell we need. Amora's gonna take Bolt. That'll cover us for a while. We can buy 2 more spells, and this is a very expensive party now that I'm thinking about it, because everyone can use magic. I will say that I don't think Cure 1 is very good. Hey there, Cody. Before we spend all our money, I'll show you one more thing while we're in Corneria. A Cure Potion replaces the Heal Potion. It's way more expensive, like 4 times the price. But these heal like 100 hit points. So basically, they heal about the same as a Cure 2 spell. And, you know, eventually we'll be able to buy 100 of them. Also, tents are very cheap. So the way I understand it is the Cure Potion heals about twice as much as the Cure Spell, Cure 1. And that means the other 3 are probably better, because this lets you do damage to undead. You can stack your party up. Unlike this, the vanilla Fog spell, which was single target, this is multi-target invisibility. And then Wake is a nice emergency, you know, stop sleeping, which could be good. So taking up one of your 3 slots for Cure is maybe not even worth it, especially with our weird setup. Now, we got a lot of spellcasters. I kind of like the idea of the Paladin focusing on the defense, because he's probably not going to do a ton of damage. And yeah, this is the problem when you've got like a red mage that can learn any spell. And I've got 2 of them basically. So how do I want to split this up? I definitely want 1 at least of Sleep and Bind. In fact, I would say in the late game, Sleep is probably the best level 1 black spell, because it does work pretty reliably even later on. Fire and Bolt, maybe, like, Bolt's really good early game. Fire's okay early game. And then eventually they get out, you know, then they get useless. I think Invisible stays pretty good. I think we're gonna skip Cure, actually. Hey there, Kilburn. I'm doing well, just getting started here. Stuck in analysis paralysis with way too many spells for people to learn. I'm gonna pick a damage spell for the first slot here, and then I'm gonna pick another damage spell for Melior, and we'll work out the details later on. Let's go speed through the castle. I want to go start fighting stuff, making some progress here. But for the most part, other than some names, the Castle of Corneria is basically the same. Except the prince was kidnapped or something. So Queen Clazian is looking for us. And I believe the names are friends of the Romhacker. And then there's 2 queens. So there's Queen Eva, her son Prince Sander, and Queen... And this is going to be a test at the end of this series. Queen Eva and Clazian. You gotta save the prince, and this is a callback. I've probably pointed this out before, but usually there's an invisible NPC here, so it's kind of a little thing there. There's still a Garland out there somewhere. Queen Clazian's waiting for us. We got some prophecies or something. You know, whatever, it's fine. There's some more guards up top, and technically there's like some locked doors back here, but you know, we don't need to spend too long. There's a treasury. They foolishly gave their key away to the elves, which was silly. Why would you ever do that? Now they can't even get their own treasure in their own castle because the elves stole the key and won't give it back. All right, so that's your intro. Let's go kill some stuff. And I'll throw some speed hacking tricks in every now and then. All right, wolves and imps. So let's just start with regular attacks and see how it looks. Not bad. I mean, imps are always weak, so no surprise here. Also, the XP scale is much improved. I don't know exactly how they did it for balance sake, but you certainly level up much quicker than vanilla, so that helps you out a lot. But yeah, we can get a level up here fairly quick if we want. And the thing is, I've been holding back on y'all, although I mean, I did spoil it. We don't have to worry about these early game encounters at all, because we keep getting small groups, but we could kill any number of imps. We could kill infinity imps, basically, if we wanted. So, I mean, I almost want to just run away. I want a big group of imps so I can get 9-pack all one shot. So I would say this is a pretty strong party early game, because we've got a lot of people who can cast Bolt, which is pretty much all you need for the early part. Now, once we get into the dungeon here, you know, Bolt might not work on everything, so we'll see what happens. Also, I didn't mention it, but we start with a lot more hit points. So usually you start with around 30, I say 25 to 30 hit points for your party. We started around 50 and immediately got 30 hit points on the first level up. So we're already way ahead of the curve in terms of power. like HP. We've got way stronger starter spells. We got way more hit points. Similar weapons and armor basically as the base game, but you know, there's nothing out here on the overworld that should cause us any problem with this group. It is very Ultra, or is very Street Fighter 2. Yes, yes. I'm pretty sure that was the I'm pretty sure that's where the Romhacker got the name from, if I understand correctly. Except that, of course, everyone gets it wrong and calls it champion instead of championship, so that's another classic. So we're gonna buy a couple tents here so I can save on the overworlds, as you do. We're not gonna be able to buy cure potions for a little while, but tents, you know, they'll get the job done. I guess we could save. We got to level 2. I think we'll be good enough now to go kill Garland, honestly. So let's see how that works, especially if we save outside. We could also... I mean, these fights... I should have picked up Bolt for Lazarus as well. Everyone gets Bolt, right? That's the rule. I don't think we actually need 3 Bolt casters. But, we could show off another cool trick here. We just go this way instead, right? Ah, here's the good stuff. All right, I think we'll be okay. Our Sage doesn't even have a spell, because why would I give the Sage magic? So Gerwolves are definitely not starter area enemies, but by the power of Thor, done. And that's way more experience than you get for killing imps, so this is where we should have gone from the beginning. Geesh, that would have been way more efficient. Of course, we'll be out of magic now and doomed, but... See, someone mentioned that this game had more grinding than the base than vanilla FF1. Yeah, but you get level 1 sweepers, and you can jump to stronger enemies and steal an extra 1,000 gold right at the beginning. So we'll go visit Dwarf Cave properly later when we've got the boat, but actually I don't know if an ogre, we're not going to fight the ogre. Ogres are jerks. They used to have 100 HP in the base game. They've got way more than that now. And they give you way less gold and experience than they used to. Of course, now we're seeing our problem. Maybe we're bad at running. Honestly, Amora should be really good at running. Well, no, I think luck is more important for running than agility, actually. So rogues are really the runners with high luck. I don't like the looks of that. Birds. Why are there birds out here? Evil birds trying to kill us. Ooh, man with the machine gun. I'll be calling out some of the music every now and then when it hits a jam. Hey, level 3. I wasn't even really planning on grinding to level 3. That's how fast you grind in this Romhack. You just accidentally hit level 3. So we might not be amazing at running away, but we'll be really good at just killing everything. That's probably the best plan anyway. I should pick up at least 1 spell. How much money have I got? I got tons of money. I can buy whatever I want. What should we give Lazarus? He can learn anything. I mean, what if he had like Bolt, Fire, and something? Bolt, Fire, and Holy. He gets all the offensive spells. But then no one has Invis. I do kind of want Invis. Wake, I'm not too worried about. Technically, the Paladin can learn that. Yeah, let's start with people who only don't get a lot of choices. David just learns White Magic. That's much easier. We already taught him Holy. Let's give him Invis. Wait, he can't learn Invis? Oh, good to know. Before I get too ahead of myself. He learns White Magic, but only the offensive White Magic. So he might as well take Holy and Cure, because that's all he can learn. See, I figured it out, guys. We start with the people who have the least amount of options, and now they're done. Now we don't have to think about David. That's all he gets. That's all Amora gets. Bam, we're good to go. Now we want to fill in the blanks with Melior and Lazarus. So that's not bad combo, honestly. We definitely want to have 1 damage spell for Lazarus. I'm kind of thinking the Paladin handles the Holy, actually. Because, you know, it's only good against undead. There's not that many undead. It's just when you fight undead, you kind of want to have it. At least a big pack. I think just having a sweeper early on, 3 sweepers is just going to save us a lot of trouble. It's a little bit basic, you know, everyone's got Bolt, but if you're gonna give me a 50 damage area of effect sweeper at level 1, why wouldn't I put it on everyone who can learn it? Like, I feel like that's just too obvious. Now, we definitely want someone with Invis, at least one person with Invis, and at least one person with Sleep. Now, that leaves us one slot for Bind, and one slot for Wake, if I want to have all the magic. And I think for the purposes of, this might not be optimal, but for the purposes of showing them off, this lets us learn all of the level 1 magic. Yeah, and technically we do have fire on one person. It's just, actually fire would be quite nice. Like, I think early game fire is probably better than Bind. Bind I'm not sure about, honestly. And Wake could probably, like, again, Bind and Wake are the worst ones, I think. It's pretty safe to say. Buy a few more tents. Buy a couple cleanses. Oh, so for cleanses, they used to be pure potions, but now they work against, I think, any status effect other than soft, or like stone and death. Yeah, let's go to the inn. We'll see what our magic slots are at. Level 3, the Sage already has 5 and 1. 5 level 1s, 1 level 2. That's pretty good. Maybe the other 3 will learn at the same rate, approximately. We'll see. You do get slots a bit quicker in this Romhack than vanilla, I believe. At least like a pure caster would get slots a bit quicker. Because I know you can get to like 9 level 1 slots pretty early. Which is, you know, might as well. If you don't get them till you're level 20, then, like, you know, no one uses level 1 magic at level 20. Okay, you're gonna be like this. The imps, we're not allowed to run away. So one thing we definitely want, we're not gonna be able to get it for a while, but houses to restore MP on the overworld. Whew, in a big spellcasting party like this, oh, that's gonna be nice. If you were watching the channel recently, I did the oh no, we can't get through. There's a trap. I did the Might Magic X Legacy All Mage Challenge, so I kind of like the idea of going all magic anyway, you know, just all in on magic. Do we have to kill the wolves? One of these days we're gonna find some undead and I can show off another new mechanic for the Romhack. There's just quite a few new mechanics. Hopefully I catch the important stuff. Alright, here we go, new mechanic. So creeps are usually weak to fire, that's fine. Just pay attention to how much damage we do to the bones here. 22 is good, 12 is pretty good. 129. 129, hey BC guy. No, that's not an error. Undead, anything with sort of an evil undead tag, are weak against hammer weapons. Isn't that nice? Hey, we got a free cure potion and a tent. We have to go down there to get to Garland, but I want to sneak some more treasure. Let's try to keep our spell slots somewhat even. Yeah, if you can do like 120 damage at level whatever we are, pretty good. So yeah, we got, it's very smitey, yeah, exactly. Soft potion, cleanse. It's nice they give you a free soft actually, just in case something turns you to stone early on. We don't need to fight these wolves, right? It's fine. This might be a frustrating running, maybe this is our biggest problem for the run. I think I heard somewhere that the Romhacker tried to make running more difficult, so you're not supposed to be able to run from everything. Bronze shield is technically an upgrade. I guess buying a copper shield is kind of silly when you can just go pick up a bronze shield. 15... That's +2. It's -2 damage per hit. It's not nothing. Birds. Now, the thing with flying enemies in this, well, we're not going to see it. They pretty much all have hugely high evasion. So if you try to hit them with a melee weapon, you'll probably miss. You can use like the bind spell to lower that evasion, and then try to hit them with melee, or you could just kill them with magic. Okay, it turns out it's just easier to kill stuff with weapons than it is to run away. My lack of healing magic is going to start to be a bit of annoying now that we're working our way getting to the boss. I could have gone out intented, but it's just Garland, right? I technically have 1 potion, and no one knows. Oh, no, we do have. Yeah, we can't use. Yeah, it's fine. We can't use Holy on him anyway, so it doesn't matter. Might as well just top everybody up. All right, let's go. I forgot. I was like, Cure sucks, but actually got one. Can anyone else equip a shield? No. The only 2 classes I think that can equip shields are Paladins and Clerics. And the only people that can use the heavy armor at all are Paladins, so it's very limited on armor slots. No one touches my prince! At least I'll knock you all down, is there. Alright, so. Boss, go. Fire magic. Sleep magic. Throw an invis on. 12 damage, not good. Asleep, that's nice. 42 damage, fire 1. That's better than normal. Well, he's asleep, so he has effectively 0 absorb while he's sleeping. We might as well go for melee. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, by the way, Amora's up to double attack. That's pretty good. Didn't notice that. I think he woke up. Back to sleep. And Sage, let's put 1 more layer. Yeah, 1 more layer of invis on. Poor Garland. What's so special? There's a lot of differences. It's in the description if you want a very short version. You just have to watch and find out. He woke up. So we put him to sleep, what, 3 times in a row? I don't think we failed a single sleep cast. So that gives you an idea of kind of how the balance has been changed a little bit on spell accuracy. Of course, how much damage have we done to him? He's not dead. Running out of spells now. There we go, got him. So there's no way we needed to be level 3. I'm sure level 2 would have got it done, but he does have a lot more hit points, at least double or triple his normal. Thank you for saving the prince. To aid your quest, have a bridge. No loot. Honestly, I don't even see where the prince went. He teleported us here, but is he supposed to be here? Or maybe he glitched out. It's a lot like Mod of Balance from the GBA, yeah. It's a ROM hack built on another ROM hack, built on a whole bunch of other patches and ROM hacks. And the current version definitely took a lot of inspiration from the GBA ROM Mod of Balance. So there's a lot of that involved, but it's got its own twist. Let's see. So what do we want to do? We got 1,300 gold. We should probably just save it because now we're off to Provoca. Hey there, Infinite Limit. Yeah, I haven't streamed much. This summer's been a bit rough on me. So, oh, the other Queen's Room. I could go try to find the prince, yeah. The summer's been a bit rough. I haven't had a great time. The heat wave kind of cooked me and messed up my sleep, so I wasn't sleeping very well. There's a princess. Other queen. So Prince Sander is supposed to be here somewhere. I don't know where he is. Prince Sander, where are you? Everyone knows we rescued him, but I don't know where he went. I checked down here, right? Yeah. They may have just ran out of sprites. There's a limit on how many NPCs they can have. Hey, Figo. But yeah, I'm trying to get back into it. I'm always trying to get back into it, but summer's been a bit rough. I got a lot of Let's Plays caught up with at the beginning of summer, so I've had videos uploading at least, which is good, but have not done a lot of recording lately for a variety of reasons. Alright, so we've got even more levels of spells now than we used to. We'll be level 4 shortly. You're in the volcano? Cool, cool. You don't need to grind. Well, you might. Depends on your party composition. Maybe just have like one person bolt and try to run, just to try to preserve spells. But at least then we win no matter what. Also, there's a fun little quality of life feature coming up here. Or no, I'm thinking of a different one. There was one ROM hack I was playing, I can't remember which one it was now. Maybe it wasn't this one. Where they put a they put an inn between Corneria and Provoca because nobody can actually walk all the way to Provoca without dying. But I think that was a different one. Sometimes they blend together in my head a little bit. Yeah, no inns here. Well, Grimps are worth a little bit more XP than a than a basic imp. But yeah, Bolt makes it real easy. At least for now. Alright, so. Oh no, pirates have been raiding us. And he's got a hideout. So there's no Bicky the Pirate in town. So we're gonna have to go do another little dungeon. Kind of like the other Final Fantasy 1 Romhack I did a Let's Play of. The Restored or Rebalanced or whatever they decided to call that one. Also, this is a giant tower. Look at that. Look at that. That's pretty good. All right, any new potions, or technically cabins, which do heal a lot of HP if I remember correctly. 100 HP is good value. So we've got tier 2. So one thing, I'm not sure if I'm totally a fan of it, but I do kind of like the theory. Town's armor, it works just like magic now. So Corneria has copper and level 1. Provoca has bronze of everything and level 2 magic. Elfland will have, I think, iron or something, and level 3 and 4 magic. So there's just like a straight upgrade on all your stuff if you've got the money for it. So I think that's kind of an interesting way to do it. You know, copper to bronze to iron to steel to mithril or whatever. You know, that's workable. But of course, you don't want to spend your money on weapons you find in the next dungeon. You want to spend your money on magic. So, they did decrease the price of magic. Magic used to be 400 gold here. The cure potions heal 100 HP now. They're a bit expensive, but they're much better than they used to be. Copper, bronze, iron, steel. I think technically there's silver and mithril, which is kind of weird. But yeah, I think they've got all the standard stuff. Okay, so I think because of the way because everyone can learn magic, I'm always just gonna start with the people that can only learn 2 spells. Because it's much easier to figure out what I want to do after that. And I should talk about what these spells do. So, there's a lot of magic, don't worry, I'll catch everybody up, I promise. So, heal is just like cure, except it hits everybody in the group. That's pretty good. Purge purges some bad status elements off of you. I forget which ones now that I think about it. Maybe like blind. I'll have to double check. There's someone in town that will tell us eventually. And then ice is our multi-target ice elemental damage dealing spell, like bolt except stronger. And arrow is our single target, really oddly air elemental. I don't know what element it actually is, because FF1 doesn't have an air element. It might technically count as like poison or something. I'm not 100% sure how they coded it, but there is no air element. There's only 8, and air is not one of them. And I don't think they could change that. But anyway, that's it might be dark or something. Well, there's not even I don't know. I think dark is poison. There's time. There's a generic status. And then there's like earth stone. But I don't know how they did it, so who knows. So anyway, that's your single target and your multi-target. That's simple. There's usually an NPC that talks, but this place has been raided, so all the villagers are hiding. They'll probably come out after we kill Bicky. But the other spells, blind is basically the same as good old blind, except now it's not bugged. I don't think it's non-elemental. There's very, very few non-elemental spells. Like, I think literally Flare at level 8 is the only non-elemental spell. And maybe the holy version, like whatever they call Fade. So blind is multi-target blind status effect, which I believe gives enemies minus 40 a hit rate and evade, I think, but I'm not sure exactly how they, like, that's what it does in the randomizer when they fixed the bug that made it not work in vanilla. I'm not sure how this patched ROM works, but effectively makes enemies less likely to hit you. And it does hit pretty regularly. There is an electric element though. I don't think arrow would use the same one as bolt. And then poison, and another status effect that didn't exist really in the original. You can poison enemies and they take, I think it's just flat 10% of their max per turn. And again, quite a few enemies can be hit by poison, so it's not a bad multi-target overtime damage spell. If it's a long battle, and especially keeping in mind that I mentioned earlier on, enemies have a ridiculous amount of hit points in this version. So if you're fighting an enemy with like 20,000 hit points and you can get them with poison, that's 2,000 damage a turn, which is pretty awesome. So not bad. Which normally I would say those are bad, but in this game, not as bad. Yeah, AoE, all enemies. Shield is fog, and just like Invis is multi-target, shield is multi-target. So your whole group gets a small amount of absorb. Slow, also multi-target, and either undoes a haste spell on an enemy or sets their number of attacks to 1. It doesn't, if you're hasted, it just takes you to normal, but takes you from normal to 1. So it's actually quite good. So honestly, all of these spells, this is one of the things I like about this ROMhack. The thing that makes me excited is that so many of these spells are actually quite useful. Hit number of enemies. Yeah, it's multi-target. If they're hasted, it just undoes the haste. If they're not hasted, it takes them from whatever their number of attacks is to 1 attack per turn. And it's usually pretty accurate, actually. So now we don't have a lot of level 2 slots. Yeah, there's no lamp. Lamp is gone. Amazing, isn't it? Lamp has been replaced by cleanse, which we'll get to eventually. I think it's like level 3 or 4. So what do I want to do? Ice is multi-target. Arrow I don't think is very good. Heal is pretty good. Do I want to give ice to both my mages? At least Lazarus needs ice. He is a pure mage. He's got to have damage. And then blind and poison. I probably want at least 1 damage spell for Melior. Maybe that's just how it's gonna work. We're gonna get 1 damage spell and then split the statuses depending on what I want on all the mages. I really don't know if I don't think anything I can think of is weak to arrow, and you've got to be weak to an element to get a good value out of it. Yeah, I guess we're just gonna end up with 1 of each spell the way this is breaking down. 1 of each support spell. Interesting. I'll worry about that when we come back, but let's go take a dive into the next dungeon. Well, actually, technically speaking, for the future tubers, we have to end the episode here. I know it's very sad, but it's been an hour, and we did technically get through the first 2 towns and kill the first boss, so, you know, we're not making terrible progress. I don't really like buying stuff because there's a high likelihood we get some of the weapons in the next dungeon anyway. Unless we're really struggling, I'm going to try not to buy too much equipment in towns, because you do generally find them in the next dungeon, and then it's just a waste of money. I'd rather spend my money on spells that we can't find in a treasure chest. All right, so future tubers only. Live tubers, don't stress if it's your first live stream. Future tubers, this is the end of the episode. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.